to welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen. We are 4:05. We are extremely sorry for delaying this program by 5 minutes. So let's begin the debate, Fire Safety Pe Charcha, with introduction of focus. My request, my friend Shilpa, to play the focus corporate video.
We are delighted to present to you the Forum of Critical Utility Services, the acronym of which is FOCUS. Much as the acronym suggests, the role of the Forum of Critical Utility Services is to bring in focus all that concerns the construction industry. This is not just for India, but for a coordinated construction industry world over. For those of you who may not be aware, this initiative is to prepare and present a platform where all the verticals of the critical utility services of the construction industry forge into one formidable group that will strive in building unity, aid in diffusing misconceptions, and present itself as a platform for discussions amongst these bodies of professionals. Our efforts begin with drawing the strength from the fields of architecture, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, safety, fire, security, illumination, vertical transportation, IBMS and IT, solid waste management, and last but not the least, facility management. Bring them together and forge them into one strong wheel of change to deliver structures that stand in harmony with Mother Nature on planet Earth. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our mission. Only when we come together and share our ideas and aspirations will we find the stumbling blocks. It is here then that when we are together and focused towards one goal, we will jointly be able to understand and address our challenges as one formidable force. And this is our vision. Our invitation to you is open. Come and become a part of FOCUS. It is your contribution and support to FOCUS that will make a difference to the new India that is being created. Let's join and make this the Bharat that we wear. Shining, prosperous, bright, and a true world leader.
That's focus, ladies and gentlemen. Architect Sandeep Shikre, while he's addressing, he'll talk about why we all need to come on the same platform, which is the need of the hour, why focus is born in 2020. So this program, Fire Safety Pe Charcha, was initiated with our Vice Chair of Fire, Abhishek Chabra, who is into passive fire protection professional. And this is our second series. We last 15 days back, we completed the Delhi one. We are covering all the cities, all the major cities of this country, talking about Fire Safety Pe Charcha, the debate. Why do we need to compartmentalize the structure to avoid fire spread? And this program is sponsored by our friend Orient Fire and Shakti Orman. So we would like to play the Orient Fire 2 minutes video. They are joined us in Delhi and Mumbai. They are coming with us in all the cities. So can we request Shilpa to play Orient Fire video?
Orient Fire Curtains is an Indo-British joint venture operating in India since 2013. Orient Fire Curtains has successfully executed more than 300 projects pan-India basis. This totals to about 3,500 fire curtains till date. Double-barrel curtain with overlap for easy access. Basement car park compartmentation. Office compartmentation. Staircase escalator compartmentation with corner support. Open kitchen compartmentation without corner support. Staircase escalator compartmentation without corner support.
Raman Kapoor from Orient for trusting us and continue to support the program. And also I want to thank Shakti Orman, Mr. Sayed, who's joined us from the Mumbai series, and they'll be with us till the remaining 5 more series. And also I want to welcome Santosh Warik sir. I know you had a hectic and busy schedule today. In spite of that, you agreed to participate in this wonderful program that we're going to do it. So, Shilpa, can you allow me to share the screen, please? It says post disabled participant screening screen. Could you do that, please? Once again, Mumbai, good evening and welcome to all of you. This is for the first time a specific subject has been discussed in Mumbai, that is compartmentalizing fire and saving lives. Very apt topic and the need of the hour. So it's good that today the industry talking on specific subject and focus forum of critical utility. So we picked up this subject because one of our vice chair is very passionate about passive fire protection, and we have wonderful eminent panelists today. That is our chairman of Western Region and architect Sandeep Shikre. Welcome to you, sir. He's a lead AP president plus CEO of Sandeep Shikre Associates, popularly known as SSA Architect. Spearheads SSA Architect with team of 300 young, dedicated and committed professionals that renders architectural, interior design and construction management consultancy services. Sandeep is an USGBC lead accredited professional and has deep commitment towards sustainable development. He is the founding member of IGBC and also chairman of IGBC Mumbai chapter. He is the patron of City BUH, Council of Tall Building in Urban Habitat, whose head office in Chicago, USA. He has recently been honored with Senior Fellowship Award by IGBC and recognized as India's top 30 architects by Forbes India. Congratulations, sir. That's a great honor for you, sir. We are all very proud of you by achieving that. Sandeep believes architecture is a comprehensive approach which combines the hard skills of design and soft skill of human connections and experience. In a nutshell, it is all about space, people, and happiness. What a wonderful statement, Sandeep. Thank you very much for that. And our well-known face in the various seminar, whenever subject comes on fire, our friend, Sri Santosh Warik, is the director of Maharashtra Fire Service. Santosh Warik, Chief Fire Officer and Fire Advisor to MIDC Fire Services and Director, Maharashtra Fire Service. And he has over 29, I think it's more now 30 now, experience in the field of fire prevention and protection. He has served on various positions MIDC Fire Services, science graduate, engineer from National Fire Service College, Nagpur, MBA in finance, and an advocate, a law graduate. He has got experience in firefighting on various occupancies and implemented a fire prevention life safety measures as per National Building Code of India. He has successfully handled various industrial projects, especially townships, SEZs, IT parks in Maharashtra. Welcome you, sir. And we have our moderator today, Abhishek Chabra. This whole session is happening just because of his passionate on this subject. He's an engineer and a postgraduate diploma holder in finance. He has been advocating the need of compliance to standards for improved fire safety and quality across industries for over 2 decades. He has vast experience in promoting conformity assessment in several industries, including consumer electronics, industrial, renewable, and building products across geographies and jurisdictions. He has worked on several standards and codes development initiatives, especially with Bureau of Indian Standard, BIS, ASTM, UAE Fire and Life Safety Code, and Saudi standards. Since pandemic hit the world, he has been regularly delivering free education webinars, increasing awareness about conformity mechanism for fire safety, that is on passive fire protection, as well as Saudi Building Code. He joined Thomas Well Wright International Consult in 2013 and has been driving force behind the expansion of the fire compliance activity into the new market. He, along with helping certification bodies expand their horizon of business, he also owns and drives a blog and LinkedIn group called Guru of Testing, Inspection and Certification, that is www.TIC Guru, aimed at expanding the understanding of conformity across the world. We have our Mumbai Focus Chairman, Architect Prashant Sutaria. Welcome, sir. Prashant Sutaria is the principal architect of PSA, Mumbai-based company, and co-founder of Center of Living and Planning for Tomorrow. Over the last 3 decades, his nationwide practice has won 15 international and 13 national awards, and to mention many. He is passionately connected towards the betterment of architecture as a profession and has been invited as a jury and a speaker at various forums across India, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Thank you, sir. It is your chapter initiative of this debate. I'm sure this will go wonderful and it will be one of the memorable events today. We have an eminent speaker, Sri Yogesh Ratnapaki, MEP Heads of Birla Estate. Welcome you, sir. Yogesh, having rich experience for 30 years plus in various prestigious organizations, including contracting, consulting, and client side, and instrumental in designing and execution of several projects in India and overseas. Has worked in Gulf with top consultant in Doha, leading real estate developers in Dubai, was instrumental in MEP, civil defense approval and sustainable design solution of many prestigious high-rise, 300 plus heights, mixed-use development in Doha and Dubai. In India, was associated with very reputed organizations like Lodha Developers, Kirloskar, Voltas, Christopia Thermal Energy Storage System, etc. Currently working as Assistant Vice President, MEP at Birla Estate Private Limited in Mumbai, leading MEP services pan-India and key sustainability team member. Welcome once again, sir. We have architect Sanika Chavan, Head Planning, Lokanwala Kataria Construction Private Limited. Welcome you, madam. Sanika Chavan passed out from prestigious Institute of LS Raheja School of Architecture and has an avid experience over 21 years in the real estate industry, having worked with developers and corporate entities. Overall experience is not just in architecture, but also in business development, site licensing aspect all across India. Worked with Kamala Group, Kalpataru Urban Infrastructure Real Estate Fund, currently working as head planning with Lokanwala Kataria Construction Private Limited. Welcome once again, ma'am. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm leaving this floor to our moderator, Abhishek, and our keynote speaker, architect Sandeep Shikre. Over to you, sir. I'm going to unshare the screen here.
Thank you very, very much, Dominic, and thank you to this wonderful, very, very powerful panel that we have. I was just calculating that, all put together, we have probably 100, 150 man-years of experience in this panel, which is quite a powerful panel. And what I aim to do is I am going to bring together all the stakeholders from the point of view of the journey of a project, which starts as a dream of the developer and trying to come up with any kind of occupancy. And from that dream, we move forward. The developer hands over the dream to the architect to give it eyes and ears and hands, and the architect brings forth a rendering of what the developer wants. And over the journey with the contractor and the authorities coming in, I'm going to call upon each stakeholder to understand where are we right now from a very practical point of view on the implementation of fire safety, whether we have a fire and life safety plan that comes up somewhere in this course of path, as well as I'm going to share some of my experiences and international perspectives on how fire safety is positioned at various steps all through the journey. So I'm going to start with architect Sanika and then move over to architect Sandeep Shikre, and then take views from Santosh Varik ji, and then almost expect, or not expect, but we have as part of the panel Yogesh ji as someone who is very, very experienced, though he's representing a developer, but his vast experience can shed light on the contracting phase of the project. And then we will take similar viewpoints from Prashant ji in terms of how the project is managed and delivered. So can I start with Sanika? If you unmute yourself, and maybe you can share that when the developer dreams up or specifies what building has to come up, where is fire safety in terms of planning and priority?
So, hello everyone, and it's been an honor to be in this panel discussion.
You're not very audible. If you could come closer to wherever the mic is.
Okay, am I audible now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for giving me a chance to be on this panel. Really honored to be here. To move on to your question, yes, fire safety is very important to developers, and as representing a developer, I would say that, working with the developers in so many years, there is a vast change from what it was earlier and what it is now. We are also moving from buildings which were 24 meters to buildings which are 300 meters now. So I think it is very critical that we take care of the fire safety aspect of it. Only thing is that what happens generally is that the major contribution towards fire safety comes from an MEP consultant. So when we go about a project, the more, as we are aware, the more focus is on how much FSI and how it can be enhanced and how we can fit in. And then the architect comes in, and then later on the structural and the MEP consultant comes in. But I would say that, whenever in fact, our DCPR these days also have improved a lot in terms of, the width of road and the consumption of FSI basis that. So all these things, there is a vast change which is happening in terms of there is a thought how a building would be approached in case of fire. So that is the reason that these norms have also been changed. That how much can you really build if you are abutting a certain width of road. So these are these subtle changes which will help eventually in passive fire protection. So yeah, and developers have to abide by all these things. Developers are aware now that eventually to sell a product, what is needed is a complete package. And also safety comes first, as always. So, and there is so much of technology which has been developed right now, wherein we can incorporate so many things, in the sense that there is all these preventive things. So precaution is always better than cure, we say. And obviously the developer also has to they have to build their brand, they have to go with their brand. And if all these measures are taken care of, it also becomes as a marketing tool, wherein we say that it is a totally fired from a safety point of view, this building can get so many points. And how safe it is for your family in terms of fire, or in terms of any other hazard for that matter, whether it's earthquake or whether it's whatever. So all these points, yes, they become a marketing tool for the developers. So it always aids into that. So there is no debate, and there is, I think these days, due to the awareness, even all the developers are keen to do all these things, so that the brand, it helps in brand building as well. So yes, absolutely. And as a professional, as an architect also, I feel that at the planning stage, or rather as an architect representing a developer, we also have to be aware, and we also have to give in our bits to the developer regarding these fire safety measures, which would eventually save lives. Because it's not just about building homes, so it's about taking care of the people who are staying within those homes as well. So I think it's the most important aspect that we look at generally when we are going ahead with planning, designing, implementation as well, and execution finally. So, and we are trying to bridge these gaps as developers. I think we are trying to bridge these gaps, with the, so at planning stage, maybe things look a little dreamy and okay, all this is fine. Then it moves to a stage of implementation, it moves to a stage of execution. But what I have seen through project life cycle, which I can share, is that eventually at certain point, nobody wants to compromise on safety. Maybe we look for better technologies to manage it. Maybe we look for something which is less space saving, because services is always something that an architect and an MEP consultant is fighting, that we can't give you so much of space or something. So yes, due to these technology advancements, it is helping. All these things are helping now, and somewhere we are trying to maintain that balance.
Great. I think that's a fantastic start, a very good overview from the first commercial entity, if I can say, where actually the money flows down throughout the project. I'm going to move to Sandeep Shikre ji as one of the biggest experts in the region. And I want to ask you this, that as an architect who is servicing a very broad spectrum of, if I can call, customers or people who can be very, very demanding, how do you see at this point of time the need of fire safety from people who reach out to you? And I know that it varies. There are potentially customers for whom fire safety is probably the utmost, whereas there are others where probably some other aspects are a little more important than fire safety. So over to you, sir. What is your view?
Well, So good afternoon to all the viewers. And firstly, let me sincerely thank and compliment our own dear Santosh Warikji. He's our director at Maharashtra Fire Services. What more we can ask for? One of the most learned, one of the most wonderful person, and I cherish my relations with him. The most important thing that he is very inclusive. He is talking to all the stakeholders. He is ensuring that everybody who's responsible for the fire safe built environment understands their role and how do we get the best out of them. So I think today's session is also quite important because it involves all the stakeholders. From architect lenses, I always feel that we are blessed to take that particular position where we initiate the design, and so many experts and stalwarts, they kind of work in association with us and we collaboratively, collectively bring the final output. There is no doubt that in our mind, the fire safety is at the apex situation. And I'm very glad, like Sanika said, that there is nobody who would want to compromise that. Whatever is happening is out of inadvertent and unintentional uh, unawareness of it, which is also very dangerous. So what I personally first feel that there has to be a lot of awareness program has to be initiated. And of course, through Focus, we are doing that. And through many other forums, it is getting done in last 5 to 10 years. That is something which is great. The NBC Chapter 4 has been a blessing because it kind of speaks a lot. It is quite comparable with a lot of international codes. So all the architects and the promoters have some good quality document with you to understand what are the different codal requirements that you need to incorporate when you design. And there is no compromise that one should adhere with. I also feel that if you'll ask today, who are the top 10 structural consultants, you'll name them. Who are the top 10 architects, you'll name them. But let me confess, if you'll ask them who are the top 10 fire experts who can really handhold with you and give you a proper justification, very few people would be able to say that fluently. And I feel it is not right. These are the people who are very important and we need to respect them and involve them right at the inception of the project. Because this is a performance based application, it cannot be later on plugged into a final design. So we need to have that kind of respect and awareness and inclusion of them right at the design brief stage and also right at the pre-concept stage. That's very important. Also, this has to become a part of a syllabus in all civil engineering course and in all architectural course and in all construction management course. This has to also take a very apex position, and I would request Warik sir, we spoke with him, that we need to have a proper education program which is purely and exclusively focusing on fire safety. We get not so many good supervisors, not so many good construction experts who would know exactly and immaculately how to do those things which is design. So we have some issues at the time of implementation that also needs to be looked into it. And finally, once the built environment is totally commissioned and handed over, there has to be a mechanism to evolve and evaluate how is it performing. Because anything that can be measured can be improved. Anything that can be measured can be improved and can be institutionalized. As you come from Dubai, Abhishek, you know how strict it is in Dubai at every stage the implementation, and there are so many agencies who are trustworthy are available for you to do a third party inspection. I think that third party inspection and audit is again inadvertently missing here, so that we need to have a kind of a code or a rule where after completion of project every 2 years, of course it's coming in place now and a lot of people are also having awareness, but that needs to happen on a more aggressive way, the way we call POE, post occupation evaluation. There has to be an absolutely very, very stringent fire safety performance evaluation has to happen. And there has to be some kind of a, I would say, the mechanism to ensure that this things has to be upgraded. Otherwise it is directly related to its taxes or something like that. So the enforcement can also make the things work more better. But let me tell you very clearly, last 2 3 years, since 2016, when the NBC Chapter 4 has come, the new DCR has come, the new unified DCR has come, there is a good awareness and there's a good support. And also we have a good technocrats. That is also something very nice. We have a good technology providers, we have a good vendors, we have a very trustworthy contractors and vendors. So I think it's a good story now, and we must ensure that this enhances and it gets implemented into already built structures, because that's also a big challenge we have in Mumbai. We are literally sitting on a very, very sensitive area where the densities are higher. So many, unfortunately, not so safe structures are yet there, and they need to be revamped and so on. So I think it's a collective collaborative approach that we must do, and we should keep Mission 2025, Mission 2027, and 30. It can be done in another 4 to 5 years.
You wanted to share the screen, Sandeep? That's all. You wanted to show something?
No, not now. Not
Let
now.
me.
Okay.
We will come to that. I'm just going to do a quick round because Sandeep ji has shared a very valuable perspective, and I want to move to Santosh ji, take his views about how the government currently has teeth and what is the current mechanisms that are in place to ensure that buildings are getting delivered with fire safety. And then I'm going to move to Yogesh ji and then take another view from Prashant ji. And after that, we're going to try and see if we have time after discussions that maybe we have a few slides of a practical case study that Sandeep ji has. So I'll move to respected Santosh ji. Lovely to see you as always. Please shed some light to all the wonderful listeners about how at this point of time, Mumbai and Maharashtra is being more and more aware and cautious of putting checks and balances. And before you start, I'm going to open out to all the participants. Please feel free to write the questions in the question and answer window. You will find that control below Zoom. Everybody knows Zoom very, very well. So please let us have your questions coming in, which we would like to address towards the end of the session. Over to you, Santosh ji. Please share your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Abhishek. Already, Mr. Sandeep has given background about Mumbai and Maharashtra. But major changer means, I would say, milestone was 2005 when NBC revamped, and wherein the passive fire protection and other details were incorporated. Fire tower provisions was incorporated in the National Building Code Part 4. In addition to the table 21 that time, and now table 7, minimum requirement for the fire and life safety. And the passive fire protection elaborated in 2016 very well. So that was a changer as a means up to reaching to the all stakeholders, maybe developers, maybe architect, maybe MEP consultant, and the fire professionals also. Unfortunately, we have very handful fire officers available with us. Gap is so huge that we can see only fire officers in few municipal corporations and special planning authorities. But rest of Maharashtra, there is a huge gap of qualified fire officers and engineers who can really means monitor the implementation of the various aspects that may be fire prevention, fire protection, and the life safety. All three aspects which are given in National Building Code Part 4 has to be holistically viewed, and it should be implemented in each and every project, whatever occupancy, maybe residential, industrial, or business occupancies, or whatever the classification is given in the National Building Code. So right now, as far as the law is concerned, definitely national means whatever the provisions are there in National Building Code Part 4, they are made mandatory as per the Maharashtra Fire Prevention and Life Safety Measures Act 2006. And we have a first mover as such towards the third party. We have appointed the licensed agencies in terms of passive fire protection, water-based systems, that is hydrants, sprinklers, and the electrical ones, that detection systems, and the manual call points and all that. So 3 types of licensed agencies we have classified, and we are registered them. And it is the responsibility of that license agency to implement the systems as per the respective Indian standards, and they have to certify it. So once the plan is passed by the concerned municipal authority or the special plan authority, they have to prepare these detailed plans and they have to submit it to the local fire authority for approvals. And once it is approved, they have to implement it as per the respective IS standard. And at the time of the final, they have to provide the certificate in the Form A form, submitting all details about the system and their credentials. So on that basis, inspection is carried out and final fire approval is granted. Once the final fire approval is granted, again, it is the responsibility of owner and occupier to appoint the license agency for the maintenance of the system. And in the month of January and July every year, they have to certify that the system is maintained by them in good working condition and it is operational. So this is the provision of Maharashtra Fire Prevention and Life Safety Measures Act. But ultimately, there are few gaps. As I already told you, there are a handful of officers and handful of good agencies available for implementation. If you see all high-rise buildings, all hotel buildings, five-star hotels or accredited hotels or special projects coming up, you will find very good companies. They work on the fire passive part of it. Hydrants and sprinkler detection, it is common for all types of high-rise building, but special provisions for the means compartmentation, the sealing of duct, perimeter barriers and all that. So this you will definitely see in big projects and vital installations in the city or in the industrial projects also. So that is the experience what we are learning. Means we have very handful of good passive fire protection agencies also as compared to the fire detection and the water-based system. So that is also constraint, and the cost attached to it. That is also one constraint. If you see the products available in the market or the glass, fire retardant glass, the cost is so exorbitant. So no one developer or the architect, they are encouraging to use that. So that is also one constraint. Any product or any solution that should be economically acceptable for the society or the developing country like India. So that is one constraint, what I feel it is a barrier for total implementation of passive fire protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Santoshji, for sharing what the legal requirements are in the country, what the flow is. I'm going to move to Yogeshji next. Even though he is representing a developer, he has a massive amount of experience, I believe, in MEP works. And I think he's one of few who would be probably closest to the subject of passive fire protection. So I'm going to just steer the discussion towards that direction and ask Yogeshji a few specific questions, and then he can unmute himself and then have a conversation. That when it comes to passive fire protection, which means compartmentalization using, let's say, fire doors, fire curtains, to start with two of these sponsors, Shakti Horman and Orient Fire, but also all products that go in, whether they are through penetrations or sealants. How is it at a practical level when the construction is going on at an implementation stage? How is compliance or how is assurance checked on the ground now? Yogeshji, you'll need to unmute yourself, and then we're all equally looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. Hello. Am I audible first of all?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hello and good evening to all the esteemed members present in this session. And my regards to Santosh Warik sir. Special regards to that. First of all, I would like to thank this forum for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on passive fire protection from developers' perspective. And I believe my major points were already covered by Sandeep sir in the earlier this thing. But however, I will try to still put some points on that. From developer point of view, sir, our vision is normally customer centricity. But what customer centricity means? Is it just aesthetics, comforts, ambience experience? No, it is important, but about first and foremost, as earlier panelists also told, that life safety is most critical and most important and cannot be compromised. So it is the base on which other pillars of customer centricity should be built. This is my opinion. And the design must address fire and life safety from concept stage or pre-concept stage only. So fortunately, we have NBC 2016, a wonderful document, and also statutory requirements fairly in place, which helps developer to kickstart the design process with the help of architect and consultants. However, as a developer, our responsibility should not be restricted to compliance of codes or safer approvals only. We must look beyond these regulations depending on the design complexities, since many times codes may be silent on certain aspects. So holistic view is required based on our experience and case studies. To design any project, the designers, especially this is not only MEP consultants' job, this is all stakeholders put together, MEP, structure, architects. They have to play a very key role while specifying the materials or designing passive fire protection systems. They should have at least basic understanding of the life safety systems and codes and standards, basic system. I'm not saying that they should be expert in all this, but they should have at least basic awareness, so that will enable them to provide a well-informed fire and life safety design. So passive fire protection should be a focus point for designing any project, because I believe better the passive fire protection system, lesser will be the load on active systems. What happens if your passive fire protection system is failed or it's not working properly, it's not implemented properly? So during fire scenario, the fire will propagate in any direction uncontrollably, and your active systems have some basic limitations on which it is designed. But because passive system is not designed properly, active system will be in huge heavy stress, and the entire system is going to fail. And this is happening in most parts of India when you see the fire scenarios. So that's why I want to insist that passive fire protection should be taken very seriously from the early concept design stage. And that's why a very specialist consultant should also be involved as a part of fire and life safety. And otherwise it will lead to a lot of loss of lives and property, which we definitely don't want in any of our projects. So active fire systems, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Yogesh. That's quite a very good perspective. Before I move to Prashant Sataria ji to take his views, I want to quickly take just about 2 minutes to share how the concept is done internationally, and probably all of you can pick up some key areas where, after Prashant ji talks about, you can share insights of where we are now and what possible changes can be done to become more compliant to an evolved fire safety implementation method, which is done worldwide. So at the outset, whenever the project is beginning, and this is between the developer and the architect, is that depending on what is the type of occupancy, whether we are in a mall or a hospital or a hotel or a school or a resi or a commercial tower, a fire and life safety plan is designed. And this is the master document, which is highly dependent on the awareness or the preparedness level of the occupants. So the preparedness level of people coming in and out of a mall or an airport is very different from that of a primary school, kindergarten, or a hospital or an office complex. And this is where the beginning happens, that what is the occupancy type, and a fire and life safety plan, which defines everything from compartmentalization. So hospitals need a higher degree of compartmentalization, as an example, or prisons where people cannot really run away. So fire, wherever it is started, has to be compartmentalized within that section, as well as, of course, planning of egress, how much, as well as all active fire protection is done. This is the beginning. This forms the basis of the RFP given out to contractors as well as material suppliers. And this document has to be the most robust starting point because it defines not only the plan, but also the products that will be used, the materials that will be used, the workmanship expected, and their quality assurance, whether if it is a fire-rated door, what is the kind of evidence that works? Is it just a test report brought from some laboratory of some door which was tested? Not at all trying to understand what is being supplied on the site and how to link that. So as a flow happens, when you have a fire life safety plan, you have a guidance template for the contractors, subcontractors, material suppliers, as well as the government body who could use their own inspection body or a third-party inspection body because it is all defined. So I will talk further about this, but I want to bring the spotlight to Prashant ji to share his decades of experience and explain to us that right now, where are we in India? I know we are not here, but where exactly are we? And then we can have a kind of an open conversation on how we can get there or maybe become better than how people are in the world around us. So over to you, Prashant ji.
So good evening, everybody. And thank you, Focus, for arranging this lovely conversation with all stalwart panelists. I personally see as an architect over last 30 years, what I have seen from macro to micro. I think we have moved from macro level of thinking to a micro level of thinking. The fineness has come into the way in which we are looking at the critical aspect of fire safety. All my fellow panelists have brilliantly given various opinions about what their perspectives are. So on micro level, I would only add the challenges that we are facing, I would say after 2010, where we have got mega projects coming up all across India and more specifically in Mumbai and MMR region. We now have, 30-story building coming up as far as Panvel, about 80 kilometers from city center. So we have various challenges and the developers over there, some of them are established developers, some of them are new developers. So I think as architect, I see that not only architect, but all the stakeholders who are consultant on the knowledge side, it's our duty and it's our responsibility to guide our clients that what are the norms, what is it that we should follow and why we should follow. From the perspective of the client experiences, I feel there are various categories of clients. Some of them are very good, very enlightened client. And I think Sandeep talked about it. Sanika talked about it. And I feel, but let us look at the clients who are not enlightened because that is where the problem lies. So if we want to tackle this problem, we need to enlighten, we need to handhold clients who are interested in doing good work, but they may not be aware of things that why it should be done, why they should spend maybe a little less if they have a fixed budget, maybe a little less on the aesthetics or on the rich materials of floor finishes, but invest more into the system which will help the safety of occupant in the long run. So that is my macro level thinking. In terms of micro level, I feel that the amount of services and the amount of detailing that goes into now a simple building is huge. So for example, if you have multi-storied building, so now you have doors. Okay, so our clients feel that once you install a 2-hour or 1-hour fire rated or whatever the norm is, then that's the end of it. But we are trying to tell them that it's not only the door, but if you can install a smoke seal along with that, or if you can seal all the what we call the openings which are there for services and seal the surrounding areas with specific chemical or foams, then that can really help the protection of that building in case of a criticality when the fire or an incident happens like that. And I think that is where the micro level planning comes into picture. We are working on huge projects where we have double and triple basements to compartmentalize them. The brilliant document that 2016 is, it has given very beautiful solutions, what you can do when we plan atrium with escalators. How do you seal that? So these are all the methods that have been now documented very well. And I think it's our job to get it implemented, but let me be honest about it, it's a big challenge. As rightly pointed out by Varik sir, that, the cost is a big issue because a lot of things are expensive. The right contractor, and you may give the right contract, but as you rightly pointed out, Abhishek, whether it is followed not only in terms of the specification, but in terms of execution and who will check that execution. These are the micro level details which I see as a major concern in coming years for us as an industry. And that's my perspective. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Prashant. I'm going to move to Sandeep ji. But before I do that, I wanted to address two things. One, which is always going to come, Varik ji also mentioned about the cost of passive fire protection being so high. And you also picked this point up. And I can tell you from my practical experience in the conformity and quality assurance industry for 2 decades now, and I'll give a classic example of aluminum composite panel or ACP or ACM, stuff that all of us have seen has been burning everywhere, or so we think. And I can give you a quick example about how regulatory change brings down the pricing. An ACP material, which is class B, which is considered as combustible, the price at which that would sell, let's say, I'll give you an example of, let's say, 180 dirhams a square feet, notional number, and a much better quality of ACP, class A2, would sell at about 220, 240 dirhams a square feet, notional number. And this is before we had these big fires in Dubai, and almost instantly, within a year's time, the regulatory framework put their foot down, saying no class B material for high rise and extra high rise. And it created such a dramatic pull for much better quality products to be delivered and manufactured that today, within a span of 2 to 3 years, the price of A2 is 170, 160, which is below what was the bad quality aluminum composite material being sold in the country. It has created such a strong pull of more manufacturers, more raw material suppliers coming in and competing in a market where the demand exists. So I feel the regulatory framework, the specification documents, if they are clean and pure, if they are opening the market saying comply to a standard, this is the mechanism for compliance, level playing field for everybody, everybody come in. So price is one aspect which is often used as a means to say, hey, fire safety is very expensive. Well, if it is a big demand, we are such a massive country. If there is so much material to be sold, which is all at exactly the same standard, well, I cannot imagine that any other country, whether it is UK or France or Germany, who would set a requirement, can talk of the volume that exists in India that wouldn't bring the price down. So I think pricing is very critical, but the regulatory framework is what really drives the price. And with this, I'm going to go to Sandeep ji and ask him his views on very specific way that how do you feel, sir, and take any one occupancy type. It could be a commercial building, it could be a hospital, it could be a mall, where we could bring about some change, maybe in terms of specifications or defining compliance, which could drive a change in understanding of passive fire protection in the country. Over to you, sir. I hope it's not too complicated.
Yeah. No. So well, let me address your first question quickly. You asked us where do we stand in terms of India in comparison with international codal compliances and the fire safe built environment. I would say Varik sir said that very nicely. You have to categorize the built environment in India into different baskets. All the mixed use complexes, all the 5-star hotels, all the commercial complexes which are there built by MNCs, we are at par with international standard. They have been there in terms of its RFP. They are in there right from inception till the completion of project and handing over. You will find hardly any difference in process. As you said, in the RFP, the way it gets quoted in Dubai or in Europe, the similar way it gets quoted, because of the simple reason that the client is aware of it, the end user is very much demanding about it, and they have the deep pockets. So there you'll find in those sectors, maybe we are at 8 out of 10. But when you drop down to tier 2 cities, when you drop down to the residential premises where different typology of a construction is happening, I would say we are yet far away. So 1:10, we are maybe at 3 or 4, because there the cost drives the whole process, the unawareness also comes in picture, and so on. So that's the battle that we have to win. Again, Warik sir very well said, the number of intellect available into the various cities and the requirement, India is huge. The urban civilization is going at a rapid speed, 2.5 times of the built environment we have to build in the next 20 years. So those are the challenges. Coming back to our second point, you nailed it right. The cost comes down the minute it becomes regulatory. I'll give you an example. 8 to 10 years back, we were talking about sustainability. We were talking about the zero VOC paint. No paint was available with zero VOC. All the paints were having the volatile organic compound disintegration. Today, you have all the companies giving you, all 100% companies, the VOC component is no more there, and they're giving you at a much more competent price. The first waterless urinal was 28,000 rupees when it came in the market at 2004. Today, you get it at 1,600 rupees. So once it has become regulatory and once there is a volume available, naturally the vendors and the manufacturing industry also kind of cooperates. So that's the first step, and I'm going to see that in the field of fire safety also. Today you get non-fire rated cables. Somewhere the regulation will come and they will be out of the market. Those people who are manufacturing that, they will be out of the market after 2 to 3 years. Naturally, the fire rated cables will have a more competitive rates, and the volume will increase. The international players will come, and you will have a good paradise for the purchase of price war. That is what I feel. So coming to your question, yes, in commercial and mixed use and a star category premises, I don't think we have any major significantly visible gap. There we are already at par with all international standards in terms of specification, in terms of tender document, in terms of implementation and post-implementation monitoring also. I would not say 8 in 10, but at least 6 to 7 in 10 we are there. So that needs to also get translated into every sector. That is what is the major challenge that we are having. And we have one more challenge. All that has been already built. We have a huge amount of built environment which is built. That needs to be retrofitted, or that needs to be repurposed for a better fire safety. That's a big challenge that we have.
Perfect. I'm going to address that as well, but I want to move to my favorite area, something that I'm very excited and passionate about, which is compliance or quality assurance. And I'm going to open a question to actually all the panelists, but maybe I'll start with Santosh ji and Sanika and Yogesh ji, and everybody else can join in later. And I want to talk about, let's say, just 2 or 3 specific products. I know that we've got, Shakti and Orient as people who have enabled this event. So I'm going to talk about fire doors, partitioning elements. It could be fire-rated wall systems. And I'm going to put on 2 specific test methods. So in India, the Bureau of Indian Standard revised the fire door standard. The 3614 was republished in 2021. We've also had an excellent change of publishing of new standards. So we have IS 16945 and IS 16947 as standards that have been published for fire-rated glazing or glazing indoors. And we've got the IS Indian standard, ISO 834 series. These standards are part of the National Building Code, which means these standards are already out there. They are part of the Indian regime. They're part of the code. What is the current mechanism that exists, or a possible change in the mechanism where a developer or an architect or a regulatory body like the fire department can come out with a document saying, if the fire door is to be installed in the state, it needs to comply with IS 1364. Sorry, I probably am getting the standard number of 3614. And the means of compliance is this. For example, when we are talking of a fire door or a partition, the current norm in the country is for the material supplier to submit a test report to the contractor or to the fire department. And this test report, very, very unfortunately, is of a product that is taken to a lab without getting into the kind of lab that it might have been taken into. And you get a test report. It could say pass. But how does it get compared with the doors that are supplied? Because I have dealt with manufacturers, because that's my core. We are sales. We want to reach out to fire door manufacturers in India and say, would you like to test a fire door for whatever standard? And there is such a big gap. Somebody has gone to a lab with a different infill, a different set of components, got it tested, and they have a report. And they are sharing with me in a one-to-one situation saying, well, you know, in the site we sell this. Because we are not aware. The buyers don't have a mechanism. The specifiers don't have any place to say, well, I want to see the fire door label as an example. And Sandeep ji pointed out very, very aptly that we are at par. We are at international level, but this is where if a hotel, which is like a large international chain, they will point to international test methods. They will point to American standards. They will point to American or European certification bodies who will test the product to a standard which is of another country. And great, they will send you the fire door labels as an example. And that's exactly where the cost is jumping up. We have our own standards, Indian standards. They're part of the National Building Code. We just need to come up with a conformity assessment mechanism saying, I want to see the door labeled to the Indian standard. And that is a specification that can come out. So this is my question to you, that what can we change? Can we change the specifications? Can the Maharashtra Fire State law, which is, we have these forms, can we add a line that we need to have compliance either by certification, or if that is not possible, we want to be able to pick one door and get it tested to the Indian standard? I don't know. This is a question to all of you, or maybe Santosh ji or Yogesh ji, you can share. I know it's probably I don't want to put you in a spot, but this is just, how can we evolve forward?
It's very relevant point actually. Unfortunately, there are only CBRI Roorkee is the only one test lab which can really test it through all the parameters, that is stability, integrity, and penetration point of view. But there are few engineering colleges also, they issue such type of certificate by testing at micro level, small part of any fire door, and they certify it as per the Indian standard. There is a huge gap between ISI, means the all standards are available in Bureau of Indian Standard, and Bureau of Indian Standard and ISO has got a direct tie-up. So all international standards, ISO standards can be adopted as an Indian standard. So there is no dearth of standard, but there is a ISI mark product and as per ISI. So that as per means it may be 10%, 20%, or maximum 40%, not more than that. When you are certifying it as per, then it is questionable. When it is tested as per IS so and so, and that stamp is there, then only it is an authentic product. So unfortunately, that awareness is not there, and installation, as you said, that is also a challenge. Sometimes in non-fire rated wooden partition or gypsum partitions are put and fire doors are put. So absolutely, sometimes it is of no use. For the getting approvals only, sometimes compromise are made, painting is done. So at the time of final fire approval, hardly fire officers get 2 to 3 hours for visiting the building, and he, based upon the certification received from the license agency, they pass the building. So these are the issues or gaps, I would say, that are happening at lower level, and they are really, it is a high time to breach such gaps. That is my submission, and definitely it is doable.
I have some answers specifically.
Abhishek, apart from
to go ahead. Yes, please.
Abhishek, I would like to add one thing. We know that there are some gaps, but what I was thinking that it can be, if we can have uniform fire code, because fire nature is same all over. Only fire behavior changes from place to place based on that ambient conditions and all that. So local CFO always can be over and above that. But if we can develop, if all the stalwarts can come forward and we can develop a uniform fire code, just like we are UAE fire code and all that. So that will help much, and we can specify all the types of materials there. It will be more, though NBC is there, but this will be a more elaborate document, which will give go into micro detailing, and that will help everyone. So that they'll to minimize these gaps. This is what point I wanted to share at this forum.
Very valid, very valid. Sandeep ji, if you or Prashant ji wants to add, then I can give some of my points. Or Sanika, I think you were about to say something. Yeah. Please, Sanika.
I totally agree with Yogesh. Working with a developer, I mean, you know, we're doing a high rise, and in fact, there's a recent experience which we had that you know, we want a test report for the fire door. And it so happens the contractor says that, yes, I can get you the test report for fire, and, you know, we can get you from some third party agency, and then you can go ahead and install that and submit it to the CFO. So it's no, and we were also at a loss, because we are really looking at a safe building, you know, creating a good, safe building. And it's not about, we spoke to the contractor that it's not about the certificate, it's about whether it is really 2 hours fire rated. How do we cannot manually go and check every door. So I think that maybe like he very widely mentioned, that if there are specifications which is easy even for a purchase guy, you know, somebody who's doing a factory visit, if he has that specification and he randomly goes and check that, okay, if these specifications are adhered to by the contractor, I think that itself will solve the point, you know, because a uniform code, as he rightly said, would and awareness in the purchase team, because these are the people who are, you know, the ones who get the materials to the site. So yeah, I think that is what
very valid, Sanika. And you know, let me just address what you said in Yogesh ji, and of course Santosh ji also. I'm going to share a few things from my side and our side about this. When you talk about testing, I'm happy to say we are probably the only laboratory in the whole world which is accredited internationally. So we have taken international accreditation to test as per 10 to 12 Indian standards. And we do this at a turnaround time which is actually surprising the world. Today, as a laboratory, we are getting test samples from the UK, as far away from the UK. We're getting 20, 30 fire doors coming in from the UK, because we can give a turnaround time that quickly conducting a test. And a lot of this, or sometimes we even get once or twice inquiries from contracts which are going on. So large contracting companies who are doing big commercial projects in India, who are very doubtful of the supply, they say, we are sending 2 doors, how quickly can you test them to the Indian standard? And I want to surprise you and everybody in the audience that we can turn around these tests between 2 to 3 weeks. And this is shocking, because if you want to do a fire door test, let's say in the UK, you have to wait for a few months, you have to wait for a few weeks, a few days to get a quote sometimes. And the same is the state of affairs in laboratories in India. Some of them, maybe not all. But I want to share this, that today there are agencies like ourselves who are offering the level of conformity or certification and listing that is given by international firms like UL or FM or Warrington Fire or Intertech, which is detailed factory audits, making sure what is tested is what is getting manufactured repeatably, giving detailed traceability for that. And we are offering that to Indian standards now. And I'm very excited about the fact that we have this as an offering, and we are getting more and more people from India who are saying, hey, we should specify this. We should ask for this. And I'm giving this as an open offer. We've got a large number of people who are listening into this debate as well. If you have a project where you have any piece of doubt that the supply is not correct, I can tell you that we can test these products to Indian standards, and not at rates which are really unaffordable or very, very expensive. We are actually very, very competitive, and we are not really far. We are as far away from any city in India that any other faraway city in India is. You know, you fly down from Delhi to Chennai, you fly down Delhi to Dubai, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. And the shipping lines are perfect. You know, the materials are still moving very, very quickly. हफूज आम पहुंच जाता है अगले दिन यहाँ पे तो सब कुछ ही आ जाएगा. Everything is possible. It's not that materials cannot move when the will does not exist. So I wanted to, you know, close that point off, that testing we can do very, very quickly. Certification and listing, we are going on. We already have a few manufacturers who are in India whose factories we are auditing on a regular basis, and they are able to give out that assurance to their buyers that there is a third party who is checking their factories. So with that as an offering, you know, and before, you know, we close out, we're already at 1.5 hours. We're closing to, and I would like to probably take 1 or 2 questions as well. But I want to hear from you, what small change that we can do from our everyday work, you know, whether it is changing specifications, whether it is asking Dominic and Focus team to say, hey, we want to come up with a training program and develop a training program for purchasers, for inspectors, for people who go at site, and just come up with a 1-page checklist to say, if I want to validate through penetrations, perimeter fire barriers, fire doors, fire curtains, are they correct? What we were bid for? You know, maybe somebody said, I'm going to charge 150% more because I'm giving a premium product. It's certified. We have a test report, and they're God knows what they are supplying at the site. So somebody needs to be sure, you know, what is what. So we would love to come up as Focus. We would love to come up with an incremental solution. We cannot change the whole country within a few weeks or a few months. We want to start step by step. So what are the thoughts and suggestions from the panel? And this is open to the audience as well, that as Focus, as the forum of critical utility services, as a large association who's addressing to ensure that safety and performance of the complete construction industry moves forward, what can we do? I see Yogesh ji has raised his hand. Go ahead, Yogesh ji, and then I can move it to others who would like to speak.
I would like to recommend if we can have national level certification in fire and life safety in India, it can be launched. So it would create more opportunities for fire and life safety professionals and utilize their skills to create more safe buildings, not only in Mumbai, but across the nation. So this is one point I wanted to share.
I'll reply that. Go ahead, anybody else?
I think to add Sandeep's point, that there are no fire professionals. There is no career in fire. You know, these where we look as developers or as architects, we look to someone to consult as to, yes, this is the plan and strategy, and this is how we should go about it. These are the materials, these are the standards, these are the specifications that can be followed. So I think these professionals, once they are there, I think it will be much better for all of us to contribute to it. And it's not that the developers don't want to spend, or it's basically they are spending. It's just that, you know, we don't have somebody who's guiding us in that in the right way, I would say, towards fire safety.
Very valid, very valid.
Abhishek, majority MEP consultant, normally they overtake this opportunity from the fire consultant as such. Because of the gap, they only look after this, and the priority is as usual last, because when it comes to provisional fire approval, building plan approval, provisional fire NOC is the first thing, and when it comes to the OC, the final fire approval is the first document. And during that time, majority of business building or the services are yet to be laid down. And it is a really challenging for the developers that to seal each and every duct at the time of final fire NOC. So there was always request that we wanted to carry out the expansion. There are fiber optic is going on, these things are going on. So it will take its own time, maybe another 3 months time to seal each and every duct. So such types of requests are coming up from the developer side or the builder side, and we have to have solution for this. So definitely a checklist with the awareness, what they have to see, how they should ensure that whatever product is coming to their site is really authentic one, or it is a Me Too product. I have seen somewhere that only by applying fire paint on steel doors, they are saying it is 2 hours fire rated. So such type of things are also happening in low buildings, low level buildings. So really it is awareness thing is required. And definitely through the different platform, we have to address different stakeholders, maybe architect, developers, and fire officers also.
I think that's fantastic. I just give my thoughts to what Yogesh ji and Santosh ji and Sanika said. Yogesh ji talked about the fire code, like there exists one in the UAE. And I'm really happy to say, Santosh ji also mentioned about this. The National Building Code of India Part 4 is a great starting point. It is already talking about the products. It is already talking about the standards. And all, let's say, the developer or the fire department needs to just add on to say, I will be checking compliance to the National Building Code of the products. And as I mentioned, Santoshji, you're very right in saying that the MEP contractor takes on the lead as a fire consultant. And Sanika also mentioned that, you know, we really lack fire safety consulting is not glamorized yet. You know, there are not too many people who are saying, I want to be a fire consultant in India, probably. So I can tell you this, Santoshji, that why is it that MEP becomes the fire consultant? It's probably because, and I'm biased in saying this, it's probably because the active fire companies, people who manufacture all sorts of active fire, whether it's detectors, sprinklers, all sorts, I think internationally as well as locally, they spend much more money in marketing the products. There is a much higher degree of reliance saying, well, if I have a sprinkler, sab solve ho gaya. Well, the probability of failure of a sprinkler and the probability of failure of a fire door is probably the same. And that is the reason why we have both active fire and passive fire as two parallel ways to ensure fire safety. So we have to give equal weightage to both aspects. Compartmentalization भी होना चाहिए, उतना ही होना चाहिए जितना sprinkler चाहिए और smoke detector चाहिए और fire pump चाहिए. The amount of money spent in maintaining active fire, बिजली पानी है नहीं है चलाने के लिए, but we are very sure that the fire door, fire partition doesn't need electricity or water to function when there is an accident. So in my biased opinion towards passive fire protection, like I am, I think it's much more functional. It works better. So I really feel that probably a small amount of shift in awareness about how and why this should be there. And I call upon Focus, and I am part of Focus, and unfortunately, Dominic, who's down with COVID, he says, "Mera bahut bura haal hai." He exited out of the meeting, and I had hoped that with his help, I would be able to take some questions which I have not been able to. But I think we will come up, as Focus, we will come up with some sort of a basic guidance plan on what could be the specifications. If the developer, and Sanika ji is listening, if the developer calls for a fire consultant in the RFP, saying I need a fire and life safety plan, which I need to hand over to the building when I hand over the building to the FM company. Where is the fire and life safety plan? If you ask for it as part of what you need as part of the building, then somebody will have to make it. We will have a flow of people who will say, I need a fire consultant. If the developer asks for this, saying where all is the compartmentalization for the FM company to maintain later on, of course you have to ask for it, and supply will come up. The commercial part of the world is very interesting. You know, if you want a mobile phone and if you want more mobile phones, there will be more people who want to come and sell mobile phones, as an example. So that's my thought. I remember, Sandeep ji, you shared your hand, and I think you wanted to share something. And I was very, I don't know if you, it's already 5.
I think Prashant wanted to say something, and we should take a question answers because we are already at 5:30.
Sure.
Yeah, so let Prashant speak, then I will just speak for a minute because I want to address Yogesh ji, and then you can start taking question answers.
Ji, perfect.
So my point was, I mean, everybody has expressed the various aspects, how it can be done. I feel it's the spirit. If you want to do something just as a tick mark, that, okay, I should have a report, I should have this audited, whether it is a tick mark or it's the performance. And both the side of the coin will coexist. There will be some developers who will go into a bracket where they will only say, humko to tick mark chahiye, bhaiya wo performance kiya ya nahi kiya. Maybe one of the things that we can suggest is a very heavy penalty when something goes wrong, so that people become more aware. I think that's the only way the Indian mindset, in my opinion, I'm sorry, but in mindset will change. If there is a heavy penalty, if something goes wrong, then and only then people will be cautious. You know, like people got, what you rightly pointed out about the ACP panels, everybody realized, because, you know, there were incidents not only in Dubai or India, but also in London, where the ACP panel were the culprit for the fire which spread through the building. And that became a big news. Maybe people went behind the bars, or, you know, what happened to some cinema in Delhi, what happened to some hospital and the directors in Calcutta. Those were all the eye openers for people. And I think, you know, until unless there is a heavy penalty, people will not change. The habits will not change. The attitude will not change. And ultimately, the product will not change. This is my personal view about it. Sir.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So just to quickly answer, Yogesh ji, MCHI, CREDAI and NAREDCO together had represented with Warik sir. And exactly as you said, we want to bring a level field into the fire regulation. So there is no confusion in the minds of all the people across the country. May it be as the fire behaves same everywhere. I think with the great leadership like Warik sir, at least in Maharashtra, we will set the ball rolling and everybody will have an absolutely uniform level field information for fire regulation. Point number 2, Abhishek, you have to keep it in mind, with such a great talent you have sitting in UAE, you must come to India and walk the talk. Under the CSR, develop a capacity building here. Every time everybody do not have money and time to send it to you, how much you are fast you are turning it around. Have a vision, we'll welcome you here, we'll all support you here. Come and develop Thomas Bell Wright India, develop this facility by the Indians, for the Indians, with the Indians, and you will shine it over here because there's a huge volume over here. That's the way to go. You'll see it in all other fields that has happened and everybody has benefited. That's a win-win situation. I'm glad that you're on Focus Forum. We are trying to create a Focuspedia, like we have a Wikipedia. This was a brilliant thought by Bhavani Prasad ji, whereby we'll try and create a portal where there will be a Fire Pro, like we have a Green Pro material. So people will have a ready-made information about some of the materials which are pre-certified, trustworthy, endorsed by some respected forum like Focus, and then it will become more viral with other people also. I think these are some of the way forward. And as Sanika said, there has to be an awareness program, there has to be a recognition, there has to be a respect to the fire safety people, and that's how collectively we'll have a better days coming in our country. That's it.
Thank you very, very much, Sandeep ji, for such a powerful, encouraging lines. Point totally taken, sir. I agree that mobilizing us into India is a great way forward, and it is something which has been on radar. We have been pumping a lot of effort, time, and energy to move in this direction. We want to see the initial saplings. We want to see some movement that people are shifting towards better means of compliance, and this is absolutely on target. This is something which will come in the future. I don't have a date or time saying, hey, we're opening a lab by XYZ year. But yes, as far as presence, we have been increasing. We have some presence. I have 2 colleagues who are based out of Mumbai already in India. They are meeting manufacturers for sure. And I see that a lot of questions, unfortunately, have already been answered. I see some questions have been answered, and we are already at 5:30. So while I probably, it's best that some of these specific questions we can answer in emails, if that's okay with you as well as panel. We are running out of time, but I think it has been an excellent journey from where we started this panel discussion to where we have come towards the end. You have given a wonderful insight about the Focuspedia, which is a great next step for the people of the country and in Maharashtra. And it's lovely to hear all stakeholders, the developer, the architects, the government bodies sitting here saying, yes, this is the need of the hour and we need to start changing and shifting. And we are absolutely here for this function. And a big round of applause to the complete panel. Very, very powerful. Thank you for taking out the time. And to all the other listeners who've been logged in today, we have the next session happening in Pune. I think my Dominic has already shared the details of the event happening in Pune. You're most welcome to register in to listen to the next set of powerful people who are going to talk about how we can bring about fire safety going forward. I thank you all, and I would request a quick last words from Santosh ji, as someone we have all really respect. It's a very rare combination to have someone who has experience of fire, law, as well as an MBA. And I think it's quite a magical we are really all lucky to have Santosh ji here. So I'd like to give him the last and final words before we close today's session. Sir.
So fire safety, we really cannot compromise, because the incidences what we have seen, the fires are normally goes up in case of emergency, but in few incidences in Mumbai and around, we have seen the fires are coming down through the ducts, electrical or HVAC ducts. So these are the new observations what we have encountered during actual firefighting. So passive fire protection is very much important for the life safety of the building and to increase the tenability of the building, maybe any occupancy. So as a holistically, we have to see whatever the provisions are given in National Building Code Part 4, fire prevention, life safety, and fire protection. And above that, the maintenance of it and sustainability of that system. That is very much important during the lifetime of the building. So all aspects are very much important, which are already highlighted in National Building Code 2016. And collectively, every stakeholder, if perform well in his role, definitely we will be in a position to provide a safe envelope for various types of occupancies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause, and thank you to all the listeners and participants. We're really sorry. I know that there are a few questions, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to reach out to you and probably, if required, call you and answer all your questions. Thank you very, very much, and a very, very good evening and a good weekend to all of you. Thank you.